Well, as you can see, the film's called The Oil Machine, and the activist and the author, James Marriott, joins us in the studio. James, lovely to meet you. So tell us about this film. As mentioned, right now we are seeing the British government wishing to expand quite significantly oil exploration and presumably extraction at some point in the future in the North Sea and perhaps elsewhere. But the IPCC are pretty clear, we need to bring a halt to this right now. Tell us what you hope to achieve with the film.
Well, The Oil Machine, this film which is going out to cinemas all over the UK over the next few months, starts on Friday, is a beautiful film. It's beautifully made, beautiful film to watch. Mm-hmm. And what we want to do is to try and engage people in thinking about exactly the conundrum that you draw out there, perfectly put, Neil, which is that, on the one hand, we know that the reality of climate chaos. And on the other hand, we have this drive to produce more oil and gas. Mm-hmm. And that's the conundrum that the film tries to explore.
There is sometimes, and I wonder whether you'd agree with this, that perhaps sometimes when we are talking about bringing an end to fossil fuel extraction, that there is something of a finger-wagging element to it. What was fascinating to me when I was reading up about this is that there will be public screenings of this to which you are inviting people from the oil industry to come along and participate. And as I was mentioning, my uncle used to work in the oil industry a few moons ago. There will be an awful lot of people whose livelihoods depend on even just the current level of extraction that might look askance at something like this.
I mean, you're right. You're right. What we're doing is having these film showings, and then we want discussion after them, in around them. And the film itself includes a whole host of different voices. People from the oil industry over to school strikers, climate scientists, to those people who are working in the finance sector and who are trying to get us out of oil and gas in the finance sector. And you're dead right. What we need is what's known as a just transition. A move away from oil and gas, but in a way that doesn't impact, or at least has a minimum impact, on workers and communities, such as where your uncle lived in Aberdeen. You know,
yes.
I'll be part of the team that's showing the film in Aberdeen, and I'm just about to go to Inverness and Cromarty. Mm-hmm. And these are all places which have been completely embedded in this oil machine since the early 70s.
Given where we are, though, in terms of our energy security, and we know the issues that there have been with Vladimir Putin turning off the taps, presumably being responsible for dealing with Nord Stream, is it entirely safe for us to back away from fossil fuel extraction so quickly?
Yes, it is. I mean, when we say quickly, this is going to take time, obviously, especially if we understand a just transition. But there are so many steps that can be made. I mean, for example, we need to move our money out of oil and gas, make sure our pensions are no longer dependent upon the capital return from oil and gas companies. And so there's a great campaign. I'm part of a group called Platform, and we push to trying to make sure that pensions are no longer linked to oil and gas, because we need to move away from our dependence at that level, as well as on the level of car usage and even down to plastic bags.
I suppose, though, do you detect, though, a real and genuine desire on the part of governments to treat this with the appropriate seriousness, particularly when you have countries like China and India competing with us incredibly economically, who will not be going anywhere near getting rid of their use of fossil fuel for a significant amount of time? I
mean, sometimes one worries about how much the governments are committed. I'm keenly aware that we need the Prime Minister to go to the COP.
Well, the former Prime Minister, we're told Boris Johnson is going. Sunak doesn't. I mean, he'll sort it all out, I'm sure.
I'm sure he likes the stage, I believe. But I think we need to... Yes, the whole government needs to get a grip at this. I mean, the things, say, for example, about the oil and gas licences, it's going entirely in the wrong way. And actually, it was political theatre. We now understand very clearly that the Truss government was a government which was very addicted to what we might call political theatre, you know, the theatre of the mini budget. And it's a similar theatre to say we're going to have 100 licences. It's entirely in the wrong direction. We need to go in the other direction.
James, what do you make of the direct action that we have seen recently? Extinction Rebellion, of course, Insulate Britain, Just Stop Oil, the latest of these. And clearly the way in which they are acting is a reflection of their frustration at the way in which the government is behaving. But the flip side of that is, you know, the taxi drivers who are dragging them out of the road is an expression of the frustration that some members of the public feel at their ability to perform their job being stymied like that. What do you do?
I mean, I think that we need we need activity at a wide range of places and by people. So that's why the film covers both school strikers and people working in the finance sector, and indeed people working in the oil industry, and particularly people working in the trade unions, who are trying to consider this question. I mean, on the question of direct action, I think that, of course, the point is, to some extent, is to cause frustration. But it illustrates the need and the burning need. Some of those people are immensely courageous, I think.
Well,
and we need courage in all aspects. We need the Prime Minister to be courageous, right down, and to people who pensioners who are gluing themselves to the roads, to be courageous.
A little bit of bold action from some politicians would be warmly welcome.
I agree with you.
James, I'm afraid we have to leave it there. The film, The Oil Machine. James Marriott, great to talk to you.
Thank you very much indeed.
But